Hi, my name's Leighton Jin. I'm the Director of Development for the American Documentary and Animation Film Festival. The 2025 festival is March 25th to 27th, and we have a lot of great films. And today we're talking about it with another great filmmaker, Vibha Kulkarni. Did I just screw it up?
No, that was completely right.
Okay. Before we went on, I kept telling her I was going to work on it. And then when I said that, I was afraid I messed it up. Now she's coming to us with an animated feature, and it's called Chasing Red Flags. And it's if I remember, anti-fairy tale. Can you explain
Yeah.
this to me?
So it's kind of an anti-fairy tale. I grew up listening to stories and watching Disney fairy tales of a princess being rescued by a knight or a prince, and it's like a damsel in distress being saved. In
Mhm.
this one, it's quite the opposite, that a female knight is on her way to rescue a prince.
Oh, well, I like that. A very kind of empowering film. How long did it take for you to come with this concept, and how long did it take for you to produce this?
So it's a paper cut animation. So the
Mhm.
production actually took about a month's time. But for me to come up with this idea and concept, I was actually going through a breakup. And
Ooh.
while I was going through that, I realized that there was a pattern in most of my relationships where I was often attracted to men that required rescuing.
Oh,
And the arc of my relationships would always be that I go there and someone's going through so much, and then I rescue them and set them free, and then they no longer want to be a part of the relationship, and I need to walk out because it turns into a vicious cycle. So,
oh, that's a very fascinating way how
yeah.
life feeds into your art.
And so when that happened, I I play with Barbies. I mean, I used to play with Barbies and I had like some of my old Barbies and I was just like cleaning up my old stuff and closet and just like discarding a few things and I suddenly realized that I grew up playing fairy tale and I was like, well, I kind of manifested quite the opposite right now. And I just wrote a little piece. It started off more as poetry that I started that. And I was like, okay, I would like to do this. And I really wanted to do it immediately, that I wasn't sure I had the money for a big production to actually like have a castle and like location and a prince and actors and stuff like that. So I thought, let me draw it. I come from a fine art background,
Mhm.
so I paint and I draw and stuff. So I took photographs of myself. I had a friend click pictures of me in different angles, and I just did the whole entire stop motion with my mom's help on
Oh,
my own.
wow. An all-female production, is that what we're saying this is?
Kind of, because primarily it's me and my mom in my
Mhm.
grandmom's house. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But of course, I had my family support and my dad and brother, and also a friend who helped me with this photographer friend and stuff like that. They were men.
Mhm.
But the actual production was, yes, me and my mom.
So what kind of message do you want to kind of get out there with this with your film? I mean, to me, you talk about feels more like a female empowerment where um, kind of
Yeah.
taking control of your life and breaking patterns that aren't working for you. That's kind of what I'm getting. But how do you see this film?
Yes, it is kind of a message that is on the lines of empowering yourself by breaking patterns, by first acknowledging that you have that pattern.
Hmm.
And so this is the film itself ends in a loop that it goes back to square one.
Oh,
Uh, so I'm trying to say that you're going to be in this never-ending pattern unless you decide to save yourself.
oh.
You don't need to save somebody else so that you win them or anything because they're waving red flags. And that's the title, Waving Red Flags.
I love it. I love it. I love the idea. I love the concept. Um, Making this film, I know you said it was coming off a breakup. Was this therapeutic for you, and has it
Yes,
helped you break your patterns?
it did. It actually did. I but during so there was this whole there's so much more also to production than the actual concept and the story. So I was filming this, and I was supposed to go on what I can now say our last family um, trip. So my in whole of my extended family and everybody, and this was pre-COVID, that
Oh,
they planned to go on a trip.
mhm.
And I wanted to really finish this production. So, and I was at home alone. My mom helped me set up and everything, and I had my tickets booked. But because I didn't finish it to my liking, I canceled the ticket last minute, and these guys were waiting for me.
Oh,
Um, but I was frustrated anyway, and I just put it aside. I did not edit it. And my mom was really upset because she was like, "You put in so much effort, but you're not even editing it. What are you doing with this? You even missed that trip." And during COVID, I lost so many family members.
oh,
And then I lost my grandmom too. And the
oh,
last, I mean, she would keep asking me, what happened to that? You created so much of a mess and you were doing this. What did you do to that? And I just never edited it. So after my grandmom passed away, I moved to United States for my master's program and stuff. And when I was doing my thesis, my grandmom passed away. And my
oh,
mom suddenly remembered this project, and she was like, "Why don't you complete it? At least you started something, just complete it." And I was half-hearted when I completed it, but at that time, it added another therapeutic layer because I was going through another breakup, and I realized, oh
oh.
my God, I have not overcome that pattern. And so oh no, initially, I actually had also filmed a part where she saves the prince and they escape together.
Mhm.
But this time I chose to highlight that no, the pattern wasn't broken because it's not about winning the prince, it's about breaking the pattern and saving yourself.
Oh, well, it's beautiful. Can you give me your grandmother's name? We should give her a shout out since she was an inspiration,
Yes, Kamala Kulkarni.
and then your mother too, since she's another big part of this project.
Hema Kulkarni.
What has mom said about the film?
Oh, she laughed about it and she was like, "Yeah, this is." She was actually really happy and relieved that I completed it. So she's like, "Finally."
Aren't parents great? That's what they do. They kind of get behind us to make sure we complete stuff. You know, there's a
Yeah.
part of me that we were talking about this being partly a result of a breakup. It kind of reminds me of Taylor Swift a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Have
Yeah.
you talked to has does your ex know about this, or have you talked to him about this, or is it completely separate?
No. Um, some of my older exes maybe think of it, I mean, would link themselves to it, but they're just, I mean, they were classmates and friends, so they continued being classmates and friends. None of them were like really toxic.
Hmm.
But yeah, none of my recent exes, not like I have a long list. I'm talking like
Sorry, I didn't mean to imply anything.
no, 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 no. Yeah, I don't think it's not so direct that anyone would know, but those who know me know.
Intriguing. I know we before we went live, you mentioned that this has been in two festivals. What kind of feedback have you got back about your film?
One of that is it's an early selection, and I mean, I won an award for creativity and originality in the online festival that I got into first.
Oh, okay. And then this is a very kind of you said you were doing fine arts, and this is an animation, correct? So
Mhm.
so how did you come up with this technique, and how do you feel about it? Is this something you're going to try to use again for another story, or where do you stand with this?
Yes. So when I was a way for me to actually even get into filmmaking as a fine artist was stop motion.
Mhm,
That is one of the first mediums I actually kind of experimented with because it was within budget, it was in my control. I didn't really need a team back then.
mhm,
Um, and that was something that also I could just create the world in that frame the way I wanted it.
mhm,
So it was more of a technique out of convenience. It started off as that, but now I really like it. And I'm working on my first feature film, which
mhm.
has a similar animation sequence. And thematically, it's still kind of the same. And that's also kind of based on my personal life. I am sort of a Taylor Swift filmmaker. With that. Um, and so, yeah, so I do plan on incorporating this at a larger scale in the opening and transition sequences of this feature film, and animation plays a major part in that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a really fun, creative technique that you're adding. So, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people use it. I know I've seen people use it for small segments, but to for your film, it sounds very exciting that you were able to do that. How important do you think it is to have that kind of control? Because I know you said this is probably the smallest team ever to produce it, but that also means you have more creative control. How important was that for you, and maybe liberating if you've worked on other projects? Because I know sometimes, people work on big projects and there's so many hands involved, and that could be frustrating. How important was you to have that control and having such a small team and really tell your story without too much compromise?
I think that really depends on the story too.
Hmm.
Because this one had monsters and a world and things like that.
Hmm.
Things that I couldn't really afford right now. And I really wanted to make it right away. Maybe tomorrow, if I have a bigger budget, I might want to explore this again in a different medium. But the stop motion and just creative exploration on paper really
Hmm.
helped me the flexibility to create the world as detailed or as abstract as I wanted it to be. So
Hmm.
that was kind of also I've been old school with most of my fine art. Not been very much into VFX.
Hmm.
Not saying that I'm not into it or not saying that I'm not open to it at some point, but I would obviously need to work with artists that specialize in that.
Hmm.
But um, me as an artist myself, I've been very hands-on. I
Hmm.
started as a sculptor first, so I've been
Oh,
very like tactile and
oh,
with the medium of exploration as well.
a woman of many talents. Wow. Sculptures, filmmaking. What can't you do? Uh, something that crossed my mind. If you're successful making movies about bad relationships and breakups, do you worry that's you get in a good relationship, it's going to hurt your creativity?
I don't think so because it's more about what I learned from it. It's not really about the people that I've been with, or um it's nothing personal about anybody. It's more
Hmm.
about my lessons.
Hmm.
So no, I think that's gonna help whatever relationship I get into.
I'm sorry, it's just a silly idea that just kind of crossed my mind. I know that's a silly question. Um,
It's valid.
for your future projects, I know you talked about this next one has a little bit to do with similar themes. What other have you started thinking about other themes you want to explore in your filmmaking career?
Yes, I'm actually very open to genres. I worked in horror and drama as
Mhm.
well. Although at this point of time, I'm in more into romantic comedy, um,
Oh.
fantasy mode. But mostly I love to tell stories about self-acceptance and themes around self-acceptance. I view filmmaking as a journey of discovering myself, and um, I believe that the more I'm authentic with myself, the more I can engage and connect with the world and develop empathy. So I feel like it's more of a spiritual process in that sense, not the jargon, but like my personal journey. Um, So thematically, it's usually around this like self-acceptance and conflicts where characters are like breaking patterns or dealing with grief and personal emotions.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah.
And this is something that's kind of interesting to me. So I used to be a journalist, but I want to kind of get your perspective because you said you did a lot of fine art. When I was a writer, I always felt like that was kind of a matter of finding your voice. And so, you as a filmmaker, can you talk about the process of finding your voice and then having the confidence to tell your stories? Because sometimes that's tough for some people. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. I think the my process of finding my voice actually was quite elaborate. It required me to first identify all the things that I'm not. Because when I wanted to move from fine art to filmmaking, I was initially trying to be like other filmmakers and pretend to just fit in. And I realized the more I tried to fit in, the more I felt so disconnected with myself. And I was not enjoying the process of what I claimed that I loved so much. And in just that process, I believe that I found my voice. It was more to do with accepting myself and the things I like and not being embarrassed about it. And it happened, most of it also happened in film school. I realized that while I was working on each project, it kind of took me back to maybe some of my own childhood memories. And when I work on different characters and just seeing myself in them and what part of me it brings up. While doing that, I realized a recurring theme with each. It was more to do with I was trying so hard to fit in. And so the opposite of that is self-acceptance. And I realized that that's a pattern that emerged through most of the stories that I chose to tell, the scripts that I was drawn to, and also the ones that I wrote. Um, I realized that I've been working on themes of self-acceptance. It wasn't something that I intentionally started off. So I believe I discovered my voice that way.
Wow. It's a great story, a great journey, and a great story to share with other filmmakers. It took me a while to find my voice as a writer too. I mean, I found a voice early, but it took me a while to refine it. So I really do kind of relate to that. I'm a little jealous that you found yours a lot quicker than it took me to find my voice.
Oh, no, no. It took me a decade. It took me a while.
Still took me more time. I'm an old man. And then you're coming up to Palm Springs. Have you ever? Now, I think we talked about a little bit. You've been to the desert, not necessarily Palm Springs. You've been, was it
No.
29 Palms?
Yeah.
And it was a
Yeah.
meditation retreat.
Yes.
Can you talk about your experiences out here in the desert and explain a little bit of what a meditation retreat is?
So I went for this meditation retreat, which is primarily a technique that focuses on breathing and observing sensations. I went there for the retreat, and I also go there to volunteer. Um,
Hmm.
really. And it's a beautiful space, actually. I love the sky and the stars so clearly can see. And I've mostly been when the weather's been pleasant, so I don't know about the extremities, not too cold, not too hot.
Hmm.
Um, so I like it.
And is there anything you're looking forward to seeing when you come out to Palm Springs?
Yes, I'm excited. I haven't thought of anything yet, but I'm open to recommendations.
Well, I got a whole bunch to recommend for you. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, and I'm excited to see your film. And it was a delight talking to you. I found everything you said very fascinating. So excited to have you at our festival. To remind everyone, the American Documentary and Animation Film Festival is going to be March 27th through 31st at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. Passes are on sale now. You want to come out? We're going to have a lot of great films. Uh, Thank you so much for joining us today, and we're looking forward to seeing you in Palm Springs, and we're welcoming you to the AmDocs family.
Thank you so much.